So the Avatar 2 movie is finally out after a decade and a half. And I can see why people would really hate this movie, why some other people might really love this movie, and why probably a lot of people would just think it's like, meh. Now, the thing that I want to tell you about is if you actually want to see this in the movie theater, you probably should check the kind of viewing experience that is provided. The film is made to be seen in 3D, but it can also be seen in 2D. It can also even be seen in IMAX 3D. So which one should you see? I happen to see it in the real 3D type and in, unfortunately, high frame rate. Now, high frame rate, I think, got infamous first with the Hobbit movies back in the day. And I remember feeling so uncomfortable with this high rate thing. Now, that might be me. If you like high frame rate, maybe that'll be fine. But one of the problems is not simply that it's in high frame rate, but that so many scenes were actually filmed in normal frame rate. So to make a whole normal frame rate scene high frame rate, there has to be interpolation, and the effect is just awful looking. I've heard the comparison to a cheap video game from 20 years ago, and the comparison is unfortunately not unwarranted. The stuff that's in high frame rate and in 3D, especially if you don't have stuff popping out at you, is very beautiful and very immersive. Even in the regular high frame rate 3D, some of the time that high frame rate looked incredibly fake just because you're not used to seeing it. But after a few moments, even minutes, I could get used to it and be like, oh, well, yeah, okay, this is really pretty. I'm enjoying this. And then, bam, you would see something that was originally filmed in the normal frame rate, closer to the 24 frames per second. And that was so jarring. So I could never adapt or enjoy the exquisite beauty and the somewhat strange experience of seeing the high frame rate. And given that this film is supposed to be more about the visuals than the story, I was really disappointed, and I thought the director, for most audiences, will have created probably a terrible failure. The story is serviceable enough. I found myself sufficiently invested in the characters, and I also thought the bad guy was more interesting, more dynamic this time. I liked those things. But the fact that every few seconds I was jarred out of enjoying what I was seeing by the unpleasantness of the visual, it was such a shame because I want, it's a big Hollywood movie. Yeah, it might be stupid, but I wanted to enjoy what I was paying for, and I found that very difficult. So my recommendation is that you see it not in high frame rate, 3D. Maybe the IMAX one could be better. I don't know. My impression is that it would be the same thing, but maybe you get some benefits of it being IMAX. That's what the director intended. It's intended to be IMAX 3D, not in the regular old garden variety 3D. You might also try 3D in the normal frame rate. I haven't tried that. I've only seen it the one time in the high frame rate. That might be better, might be perfectly pleasant. Or you could just see it in 2D. If you know you dislike 3D or you're just not that into it, probably 2D is the way to go. High frame rate 3D is definitely not what I would recommend for you. 2D might work. You could try to see it in IMAX 3D. Maybe that would be better. I don't know. Or normal frame rate 3D. Or you could just wait until it comes to your home theater. I'd say the best part of the movie was the end credits because I could finally actually enjoy the visuals, which were all in high frame rate and all in a very beautiful underwater 3D. Absolutely exquisite looking, peaceful underwater creatures, very beautiful, nice music, relaxing, much more pleasant than the disjointed experience I was having previously. And it also meant that I could finally use the bathroom. It's more than 3 hours long. If you've already seen Avatar 2, let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching.